Imagine waking up one day and suddenly not being allowed to drive the way you always have just because you turned 70. That's exactly what's happening in the UK starting this August 2025. New driving laws are here, and they will change everything for older drivers. But don't panic, I've got you covered. In this video, I'll break down exactly what's changing, how it affects you or your loved ones, and what steps you must take to avoid losing your license. And here's the best part, I don't just stop here. I constantly update these rules, so if there's any change, warning, or new benefit for seniors, you'll hear it here first. So if you care about staying informed and staying behind the wheel, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on the bell. Because next week, next month, the law might change again, and you deserve to know before it's too late. Imagine waking up on a quiet August morning in 2025, brewing your cup of tea, and flipping through the headlines only to find that the driving laws you followed for decades have just changed. Not slightly, radically. If you're over 70, the rules of the road are no longer what they used to be. These new regulations don't just ask for a renewal form or a casual checkup, they challenge everything about how you've experienced freedom, independence, and mobility behind the wheel. For millions of seniors across the UK, this law shake-up is more than just a policy update. It's a test of autonomy, health, and fairness. And the question is, are you truly ready? Starting August 2025, the UK government is implementing a new framework designed specifically for drivers aged 70 and above. On the surface, it's being marketed as a safety enhancement initiative, but dig a little deeper and you'll see it touches every part of a senior's daily life. No longer will it be enough to simply self-certify your fitness to drive every 3 years. Now medical tests will be mandatory and they won't be light. Seniors will face comprehensive eye exams, reaction time assessments, and even cognitive evaluations. If any of these tests suggest a decline in driving ability, licenses may be suspended or denied altogether. It's being described as a proactive step to reduce road accidents involving elderly drivers, but many are calling it discriminatory. You might be wondering why such a sweeping change is happening now. The answer lies in numbers. According to recent data, the number of drivers aged 70 and above has nearly doubled in the past decade. With advancements in healthcare, people are living longer and staying more active, including on the roads. However, with age comes certain risks. Statistically, older drivers are more likely to suffer from vision impairments, slower reaction times, and medical conditions that can impact driving performance. The Department for Transport insists these changes are in place, not to punish seniors, but to protect all road users, including the elderly themselves. But let's talk about the human impact. For many seniors, driving isn't just a convenience, it's a lifeline. It's how they get to doctor appointments, visit family, go shopping, or simply enjoy a spontaneous drive to the seaside. Losing that right, or even feeling it's being threatened, can feel like a loss of independence. Imagine being told you now need to pass a battery of tests just to continue doing something you've done safely for 50 years. That's why this law has sparked such fierce debate across the country. The process will also involve new documentation and technology. All drivers over 70 will now be required to carry a digital driver's certificate, updated annually. This document will include their test results, any medical considerations, and whether any driving restrictions apply, such as time of day limits or distance caps. Yes, you heard that right. Some seniors will be allowed to drive only during daylight hours, while others may be limited to local areas only. It's a tailored system, but many are worried it may be too strict or inconsistently applied. Let's not ignore the emotional toll. Already, stories are emerging of elderly citizens feeling humiliated or anxious at the thought of having to prove their worth behind the wheel. Some fear that failing even one portion of the test might brand them as a danger, even if they've had a spotless driving record. Advocacy groups for older people are voicing concerns that this could lead to isolation, especially in rural communities where public transport is limited or non-existent. What happens when a senior loses their right to drive, but lives 15 miles from the nearest grocery store? Yet there are others who support the move wholeheartedly. Road safety organizations point to sobering statistics and argue that these changes are overdue. They claim this isn't about ageism, but realism. A car accident involving an older driver with undiagnosed dementia or poor vision can be fatal not just to them, but to pedestrians, cyclists, or families on the road. Supporters of the law believe that a fair and consistent assessment of driving fitness is necessary, and that modern tools can help make the process efficient and dignified. To implement the law, the UK's DVLA has created a new platform where seniors can schedule their assessments online, upload medical documents, and track the status of their license. There's also talk of integrating AI-powered driving simulations to better assess real-world reactions in a controlled environment. This digital shift is meant to streamline the process, but let's be honest, not every 75-year-old is tech-savvy. That's another hurdle this law introduces, the digital divide. What if someone doesn't have a smartphone or struggles to use online forms? Of course, there are exceptions and appeals. Seniors who fail their initial assessment will be allowed to retake certain parts and can appeal any suspension decisions. Some might be offered conditional licenses with required car modifications like larger mirrors, backup sensors, or even co-piloting systems. But will these options be affordable or accessible for everyone? That's a major concern. The cost of multiple tests, adaptive technology, and transportation to testing centers could become a financial burden for pensioners on a fixed income. Local councils are also being roped into this reform. Starting in September 2025, councils will be required to offer alternative transport options for seniors who fail the test, whether that's subsidized taxi vouchers, shuttle buses, or community ride-sharing programs. On paper, it's a thoughtful solution, but in reality, it's going to take time and resources to roll out. And until then, those who lose their licenses may find themselves stranded. The change has become a hot political topic too. Some members of Parliament argue that the government is overreaching, that these rules strip away dignity under the guise of safety. Others claim it's about time the UK followed countries like Japan and Australia, where senior driving tests are already mandatory. Public opinion is split. Polls show that while younger drivers support the change, many people over 60 are worried and confused about what it means for them. There are calls for more public information campaigns, clearer guidance, and a grace period to allow for adjustment. Driving schools are already seeing a spike in enrollments from older adults seeking refresher lessons before the new law hits. That might be one positive outcome, an increased awareness among older drivers to keep their skills sharp. Some seniors are even embracing the challenge, treating it as a new chapter in lifelong learning. They argue that if they can prove their fitness, it removes any doubt about their ability to drive safely. For families, this law brings its own set of challenges. Many are now having difficult conversations with their aging parents about whether it's time to give up the keys. Until now, that topic was often delayed or avoided. But now, with formal assessments on the table, it's becoming a real and immediate issue. For some, it's a relief knowing their loved ones are being monitored and assessed by professionals. For others, it's heartbreaking to watch someone who values their independence feel restricted. Looking forward, it's possible this new law could spark wider conversations about aging, mobility, and access. What does it mean to age with dignity in a world built around speed and technology? Should we be doing more to design cities and systems that don't rely so heavily on driving? Could this be the beginning of a bigger shift towards safer roads, better public transport, and a more inclusive understanding of age? And finally, what about you? If you're over 70 or approaching that age, how do you feel about these changes? Are you confident in your ability to meet the new standards? Are you prepared to take the tests, to possibly face restrictions, or to explore new ways of getting around? Or do you feel unfairly targeted, lumped into a category based on age rather than individual ability? These are questions that only you can answer, but they deserve your full attention, now more than ever. Because the truth is, this isn't just a law change, it's a culture shift, one that will affect not only how we drive, but how we live. If you've ever driven through a country lane at sunset, or taken your grandchildren to school, or sung along to your favorite tune on the motorway, you know that driving isn't just transportation. It's freedom. And as these new rules come into force, it's up to all of us seniors, families, lawmakers, and communities to make sure that freedom is protected responsibly and respectfully. The clock is ticking. August is almost here. Are you ready?